The cameras flashed, the crowd froze. And just like that, Hollywood had a new obsession. The streams were in the billion, and he was the undisputed voice of a generation's heartbreak.
Yeah, he really was everywhere.
But then, the music stopped, and it was replaced by the glare of police sirens, heavily armed tactical teams, and yellow crime scene tapes stretched across a Hollywood Hills driveway.
It is just a staggering contrast.
It really is. Welcome to Starscope Report. Join us as we uncover Hollywood drama, music industry shakeups, and viral influencer scandals.
Right, from red carpet surprises to social media controversies, we dive deep into the stories behind the fame.
Exactly. I'm your host, and I'm joined by a resident pop culture expert to tackle a massive one today. Our focus: D4vd was everywhere. Now he's facing murder charges. What happened?
Yeah, it's just a total collapse of a manufactured reality. You're looking at a timeline that moves so fast and almost defies logic. I mean, one moment you have a teenager making gaming videos in his bedroom.
Right as a kid.
And the next, he's a 21-year-old global icon who's suddenly staring down a potential death penalty.
It gives you whiplash just thinking about it.
It does.
Yeah.
And buried underneath all those millions of streams and the massive tour announcements is the reality of a 14-year-old girl, Celeste Rivas Hernandez.
And that is really the foundation of our mission today. For you listening, we're going to break down the mechanics of this unbelievable timeline.
We have to.
Yeah, we need to look at the structural blind spots in the music industry, the intense parasocial bonds forged on social media, and, how an alleged atrocity could unfold while the entire world was watching this artist on stage.
Because he was quite literally center stage the whole time.
Exactly. So if you are fascinated by the hidden machinery behind the headlines and the industry shakeups that nobody sees coming, make sure you're subscribed so you never miss a deep dive.
Absolutely.
So to really grasp the sheer velocity of this artist's rise, we have to start with how unconventional it was.
Right. David Anthony Burke, obviously known as D4vd, he didn't take the traditional route at all.
No, he wasn't playing dive bars or handing out mixtapes. In 2021, he was just a kid in Houston uploading Fortnite montages.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And the catalyst for his entire music career was actually just a technicality.
Wait, what do you mean a technicality?
Well, he kept getting hit with copyright strikes on YouTube for the background music he was using in his gaming clips.
Oh, right. The algorithm flags that stuff instantly.
Yeah, it was penalizing his channel.
Yeah.
So rather than, pay for licensing or find royalty-free tracks, he took a highly pragmatic route.
Which was?
He just decided to manufacture his own audio, just to bypass the copyright filters.
Wait, I'm stuck on this. You're telling me the barrier to entry for the Billboard Hot 100 right now is just a teenager trying to dodge a YouTube penalty?
Pretty much, yeah.
But how does a track made by a kid for a Fortnite video compete with, multi-million-dollar studio albums produced by industry veterans?
Well, because the architecture of the music industry fundamentally changed. I mean, he wasn't using a high-end studio.
What was he using?
A freemium app on his phone. It's called BandLab. It's essentially a pocket-sized digital audio workstation.
Wow, just on his phone.
Just tapping on his touchscreen. Yeah. He started blending lo-fi pop, R&B, and indie rock directly on there. And what used to be a detriment, that raw, unpolished, low-fidelity sound, it actually became his greatest asset.
Plus it feels more real.
Exactly. On platforms like TikTok, hyper-produced studio tracks can feel really inauthentic to users. But D4vd's bedroom recordings, they felt intimate.
So in 2022, a snippet of his track Romantic Homicide catches the TikTok algorithm.
Right, and it completely bypassed the traditional gatekeepers. Romantic Homicide didn't just go viral. It peaked at number 33 on the Billboard Hot 100.
That's insane.
And number 3 on the Hot Alternative Songs chart. Darkroom and Interscope Records immediately swooped in and signed him.
But see, here is the massive red flag in that trajectory. He went from 0 to 100 without any of the traditional artist development.
Not at all.
Right, he was homeschooled after the 7th grade. He had no real-world peer group to ground him.
Yeah, he was completely isolated in digital culture, which is actually critical to understanding his psychology.
How so?
Well, in multiple interviews, D4vd openly admitted that he lived, quote, vicariously through his online friends.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. He was writing these hit songs about profound heartbreak and complex relationships before he had actually experienced any of it in the real world.
So his entire emotional vocabulary was just, crowdsourced from the internet.
Exactly.
But every pop star relies on social media now. I mean, it is a prerequisite for the job. What made his relationship with his audience so different that it could warp his reality?
It was the total lack of boundaries. He told interviewers, "I am my fans and my fans are me. We work in tandem."
That's a very intense way to frame it.
It is. He wasn't just performing for them. He was actively using their daily feedback to alter his art, his set lists, his entire persona.
So he's just a mirror reflecting them back to themselves.
Right. And when you have no offline foundation, no high school experiences, no local music scene, and your only feedback loop is millions of anonymous users projecting onto you.
The line between the physical self and the digital avatar just completely evaporates.
Precisely.
He told his fans they were building his reality together, but, the reality he was actually building off stage allegedly involved a 14-year-old girl.
Yeah, and that's where the timeline takes a turn that is almost impossible to comprehend.
Let's get into that. Who was Celeste Rivas Hernandez?
Celeste was a teenager from Lake Elsinore, California. It's a city about 70 miles outside of Los Angeles.
Okay.
And the allegations from the Los Angeles County District Attorney are just deeply, deeply disturbing.
Yeah, I was reading through the source material. It's incredibly heavy.
It is. According to the charging documents, D4vd allegedly began continuously sexually abusing Celeste in September 2023. At that time, she was only 13 years old.
Just 13.
And furthermore, prosecutors state she was actually living with him in his Los Angeles home.
Stop right there, because this is the operational mechanism I cannot wrap my head around. How does a 13-year-old girl live in the house of a massively famous Billboard charting artist without anyone noticing?
It seems impossible, right?
Right. I mean, he has management, he has a record label, he has an entourage. Her family reported her missing multiple times. The final missing persons report was filed in April 2024.
Yeah.
How is it possible that the machinery of fame just completely missed a runaway teenager living right in the center of the operation?
Well, it's because that machinery is heavily compartmentalized. When an artist is generating billions of streams, the structure built around them isn't designed for oversight.
It's designed for profit.
Profit, facilitation, and insulation. You have security teams, right? But their only job is to keep outsiders away from the perimeter.
Not to police who the artist invites inside.
Exactly. And you have managers, but they're focused entirely on tour logistics and brand deals. Plus, NDAs are standard practice for anyone stepping onto the property.
From the cleaners to the personal assistants. So everyone assumes someone else is asking the hard questions. Management assumes personal security has it handled.
Right.
Security assumes the label vetted everything. It creates a literal blind spot in plain sight because nobody wants to be the one to interrupt the revenue stream.
That's exactly it. The entourage effect creates this massive echo chamber. And while Celeste is missing for an entire year, D4vd's public profile is only accelerating.
It really is. Fast forward to April 2025, and later in the deep dive, we'll talk about the shocking twist nobody saw coming with the legal case, but the contrast here is wild.
It really is.
Because April 2025 is where the digital illusion and the alleged physical reality become absolutely jarring. On April 11th, D4vd makes his Coachella debut.
Oh, right, the Coachella set.
Yeah, he actually goes viral during that set for a failed backflip where he face plants on stage.
I remember seeing that clip everywhere.
The internet is laughing with him, making memes. He is doing press interviews talking about his connection with the crowd. He is at the absolute apex of pop culture.
He really was untouchable in that moment. But less than 2 weeks later, the narrative collapses.
Right. Let's look at the dates.
April 23, 2025. That is the last day anyone hears from Celeste Rivas Hernandez. The DA's office alleges that on or about this exact day, D4vd murdered her.
And what did they say the motive was?
They presented the motive that she threatened to expose his criminal conduct, which obviously would have instantly destroyed the empire he had built.
And the PR machine doesn't even skip a beat. 2 days after the alleged murder on April 25, his highly anticipated debut album, Withered, is released.
Just 2 days later.
It's sickening. If you're loving these Hollywood twists and the breakdown of how these timelines intersect, make sure you're subscribed, because the way his marketing campaign mirrored the allegations is chilling.
It really brings up a very unsettling question about the intersection of art and reality.
What do you mean?
Well, for the Withered album, D4vd heavily promoted an alter ego. He named it IT4MI, derived from the Japanese word for pain. He went on podcasts and explicitly described this character as the evil version of me.
And visually, it was incredibly graphic, right? Like, he was heavily utilizing anime influences, but the imagery featured this character blindfolded and wearing a shirt that appeared soaked in blood.
Yes, blood-soaked.
Yeah.
And while he is executing this massive press tour centered around this evil alter ego, the timeline in the background is incredibly grim.
Right.
Prosecutors allege that around May 5, 2025, Celeste's body was unlawfully mutilated. Specifically, they allege her arms and legs were severed.
I mean, if a normal person comes to work covered in fake blood talking about an evil alter ego, HR is called immediately.
Obviously.
But when a pop star does it, they get a billboard on Sunset Boulevard. The industry just accepts dark lore as brilliant marketing.
Because it sells.
Right. The more edgy and disturbing the aesthetic, the more the fans engage with it. Nobody pauses to ask if it's an aesthetic or a confession.
It acts as a camouflage. In the digital age, artists are encouraged to push boundaries, to create complex, dark narratives to maintain engagement.
And everyone just assumes it is entirely performative.
Exactly. They assume it's just a character.
And it worked. He literally launched a massive tour for the Withered album in August 2025. In September, he drops an official Fortnite anthem.
Right, taking his career full circle back to the platform that made him famous.
The momentum was unstoppable. But wait till you hear what came next, because it wasn't a journalist or an industry insider who brought the whole thing down.
No, it wasn't.
It was a tow yard worker in Hollywood.
This part is just, it's shocking. The date is September 8, 2025.
Okay.
This is exactly one day after Celeste would have turned 15.
Oh, wow.
And at this moment, D4vd is halfway across the country. He's in Minneapolis performing at the Fillmore.
While he's on stage.
Right. Back in Los Angeles, a 2023 Tesla Model Y had been towed from an upscale neighborhood in the Hollywood Hills. It had just been sitting there, seemingly abandoned on the street for days.
Okay, so a typical impound.
Yeah. But a worker at the tow yard goes to investigate a foul odor coming from the vehicle.
And that luxury car is registered directly to David Burke.
Yes. So the police are called to the yard. They open the front storage compartment of the Tesla of the firm.
God.
Inside, they find a cadaver bag covered in bugs. It contains the severely decomposed head and torso of Celeste Rivas Hernandez.
That is just horrific.
It gets worse. When they look underneath that first bag, they discover a second black bag containing her severed arms and legs.
Unbelievable.
And according to the medical examiner, she appeared to have been dead inside that vehicle for an extended period.
The psychological toll on that tow yard worker is unimaginable, just stumbling onto that.
Truly.
And the moment that discovery hits the newswire, the corporate firewall goes up instantly. It is fascinating how fast the machinery of fame can dismantle itself when liability is introduced.
Oh, overnight.
Interscope Records completely dropped him, effectively erasing him from their roster. His tour was canceled.
Brands like Crocs and Hollister pulled their ad campaigns immediately.
Right. And Kali Uchis, who had just released a collaboration with him, publicly demanded the track be scrubbed from all streaming platforms.
That is the function of a standard morals clause in these contracts. The corporations, they don't wait for a verdict.
No, of course not.
The moment the brand association becomes toxic, they sever the financial ties to protect their own equity.
But what is truly disturbing is the contrast between the corporate reaction and the algorithmic reaction.
Yeah, this is where it gets really weird.
Right, the corporate world ran away, but the internet leaned in. The week the body was found, D4vd's Spotify streams actually doubled.
Doubled. Because controversy is the ultimate currency in an algorithmic ecosystem.
It really is.
We have a culture deeply obsessed with true crime, right? And suddenly, millions of people were essentially treating a real-time murder investigation as interactive content.
Like a game.
Yeah. They weren't streaming the music to mourn the victim. They were searching the lyrics for clues.
The internet sleuths treated it like a puzzle. They dug up a deleted tweet where he wrote, quote, "Our circumstances won't allow us to be in our ideal situations. Take me where I belong."
Yeah, they were tearing apart his digital footprint.
They started analyzing every frame of his old videos, spotting matching tattoos on D4vd and Celeste. They both had the word shh tattooed on their fingers.
Right, the shushing tattoos.
It became a spectator sport. He ended up becoming Google's top searched musician and the top searched person overall for the entire year of 2025.
It highlights a massive disconnect. The more horrific the allegations became, the more the digital platforms rewarded him with visibility and streams.
Because the algorithm doesn't care about ethics, it only cares about engagement.
Exactly.
But if you think the discovery of the body was the climax of this timeline, the legal showdown that follows is incredibly intense.
It really is.
Stay tuned and hit that subscribe button so you don't miss what's coming next. Because the LAPD's strategy here was entirely unorthodox.
Yeah, for months after the body was found in September, It looked like the police were doing absolutely nothing.
Right. The public was outraged. They thought he was getting away with it.
But the silence from the authorities was absolute. The LAPD clamped down on all information, successfully petitioning the court for a strict security hold on the coroner's report.
Which prevented any leaks regarding the exact cause or manner of Celeste's death.
Right, but behind the scenes, the district attorney was utilizing a very specific legal mechanism, a secret grand jury.
Wait, why go through a secret grand jury instead of just a standard public filing? What is the tactical advantage there?
Well, grand jury operates behind closed doors. There is no judge present, and crucially, no defense attorney is allowed in the room to cross-examine witnesses.
Oh, wow, so it's totally one-sided.
Exactly. It allows the prosecution to bring in members of the artist's entourage, his management, his security, and force them to testify under oath without the media circus leaking their statements.
That makes a lot of sense.
It is a way to lock in testimony and build an ironclad indictment before the defense team even knows what hit them.
So the defense is completely in the dark.
Right. The public didn't even get confirmation that D4vd was the official target until February 2026.
Which is when his family members in Texas fought subpoenas and the appeals became public record.
Exactly.
So they spent months quietly mapping the entire compartmentalized structure we talked about earlier, and then they execute the raid.
They did.
On April 16th, 2026, heavily armed officers from the LAPD's Elite Robbery Homicide Division raid a home on Marmont Avenue in the Hollywood Hills.
And D4vd is arrested.
4 days later, the DA formally charges him with first-degree murder.
And the specific enhancements on those charges are what elevate this to a potential capital case.
Right. What did DA Nathan Hochman add?
He added special circumstances,
Lying in wait, committing the murder for financial gain, and murdering a witness.
along with the other charges, right? He is also charged with lewd and lascivious acts with a minor and mutilation. The prosecution publicly stated they are leaving the death penalty on the table.
That is the ultimate weight of the state coming down on a 21-year-old.
It is.
But his defense team did not play defense. They retained Blair Burke, a massive celebrity criminal defense attorney, and they came out incredibly aggressive.
Yeah, they really did.
They released a categorical denial, stating the evidence will prove he did not murder Celeste. And when he appeared in court, pleading not guilty, they demanded an immediate preliminary hearing within 10 days.
Which is a highly calculated risk in the criminal justice system.
Why is that risky?
Because a defendant has the constitutional right to a speedy preliminary hearing, sure. But usually defense attorneys waive that right.
To buy themselves time?
Exactly. To give themselves months or even years to review the discovery and prepare their arguments. By demanding it immediately, just days after the arrest, the defense is intentionally trying to catch the prosecution flat-footed.
It's like a hostile corporate audit. If you suspect the opposing company's books are a mess, you demand to see the ledgers tomorrow before they have time to clean them up.
That's a great way to put it. The defense is betting that the LAPD doesn't have all their forensic ducks in a row yet.
Because they're looking at the condition of the evidence.
Precisely. You have remains that were severely decomposed and insect-infested in a vehicle for an extended period.
Right.
The defense is gambling that the forensic entomologists and medical examiners haven't finalized their reports, or that the DNA evidence linking the actual act of murder to D4V is currently just circumstantial.
And if the DA isn't ready?
If the district attorney cannot present enough concrete evidence at that 10-day hearing to convince a judge that a trial is warranted, the judge could dismiss the charges entirely.
Wow, so they are attempting to force a dismissal before a trial even begins.
Yes, they are essentially daring the state to show their incomplete homework.
It is a massive game of legal brinkmanship, and it's playing out with the entire world watching. But, when we strip away the legal maneuvering, the billboard charts, and the viral TikTok sounds, we have to look at what is actually left.
And what is left is a profound and devastating tragedy.
Yeah.
A 14-year-old girl, Celeste Rivas Hernandez, suffered a horrific fate. Her life was cut short, and her body was left to decompose in the trunk of a luxury vehicle, while the man accused of putting her there was being celebrated by millions.
It's hard to even process.
This case fundamentally shatters the illusion of the digital superstar. It proves that the metrics we use to measure success streams, followers, viral moments, they offer absolutely zero insight into the reality of who a person is when the camera turns off.
Right. The preliminary hearing will dictate David Burke's immediate future, and the courts will ultimately decide his fate.
Absolutely.
But it leaves all of us with a much darker question to consider. The digital ecosystem is designed to build these overnight stars, granting them massive wealth and a shield of invincibility through parasocial loyalty.
It empowers them.
Could that very system, which rewards extreme personas and blurs the line between a manufactured alter ego and reality, actually be creating the perfect camouflage for real-world atrocities to hide in plain sight?
It's a terrifying thought.
When the warning signs are packaged as brilliant marketing who is actually watching the reality behind the brand, you've been listening to Starscope Report, where we uncover the stories shaping Hollywood, music, and pop culture. Thanks for tuning in, and don't forget to subscribe for more stories that keep the stars shining. We'll see you next time on The Deep Dive.